G'day, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite trial lawyer and high performer podcast. Courtney here, and the one and only Sean Claggett from Claggett Sykes out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Only a city this famous and full of energy could represent Sean and all of his passion for justice and his clients. Sean is a senior partner, founder, and trial lawyer who wears many hats, also wears them very successfully. He's an adjunct professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Boyd School of Law, as well as a longtime entrepreneur and teacher, giving back a lot of his time to helping other trial lawyers hone their craft and become better through seminars. In 2023, just alone, he has achieved some record-breaking results, securing one of the largest personal injury verdicts in New Mexico history, $485 million for a minor who was abused in foster care, as well as obtaining over $48 million on behalf of a woman left in a locked-in state as a result of medical negligence. We're going to talk more about those cases today, as well as a very interesting slip and fall case that involves a plastic cone that resulted in a $16 million jury verdict. So welcome, Sean.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was a very flattering introduction.
It's, for someone like you, and I've just started to get to know you more, that's not even enough. But I want to start off, we're going to jump right in. We don't start with the easy question, Sean. And I know you can take this. So this is actually the same question that I asked Keith Mitnick and Nick Rowley, the first question I asked both of them. So I want to hear your answer, and it's, no one in your position and where you are right now has ever had an easy ride to success. But other than hard work, which is obviously a given, what do you think has been the recipe for you getting where you are today?
Being kind to people. I preach this to my kids. In life, if you work hard and you're kind to people, you'll be successful. That's not to be confused with being kind to your opponent in litigation. If you have to hold their feet to the fire and be aggressive, that's what you need to do. And oftentimes the defense lawyers don't like me and they call me a bully and they say things like that. But what I'm talking about is being kind to your people you work with, being kind to other plaintiff lawyers, giving back, those type of things. I don't monetize teaching. Never have. I don't believe in it. I think that we owe it to each other and to the next generation to give back our knowledge that we've gained. And hopefully the next up and coming lawyer will become better and take what we did and improve upon it and continue to help people. And so that's really, I think, at the core of what I've done my whole life is I've done my best to be kind and work hard. But I do stand up and I am very aggressive representing my clients when we deal with dishonest, corrupt defendants. They don't get away with that garbage and we'll hold them accountable. That's part of being kind to my client, right? If I care about my client and I'm going to do the best for them, then it requires me to hold those people accountable that did wrong. If they're going to hide evidence and try to not disclose witnesses, all the crud that we deal with every day, then that's part of what I think I'm talking about. And so I don't, there's the people that are like really nice to everybody and get pushed around and their clients get screwed in the end. That's not being kind to your client. And so, I think that as long as people understand what I'm talking about, then they'll understand. I have no problem with the defense bar feeling that I'm a bully and I'm really aggressive. Good. That's right. That's what I am because I'm being kind to my client, working my butt off for him.
Right. No, I love that. That is a great answer. I love starting with questions like that because it really gives everyone a great insight into who you are. But I want to go back in time a little bit, and you actually share a similar origin story to another trial lawyer we've had on this podcast, Jacob Norman. You both grew up in G'day, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite trial lawyer and high performer podcast. Courtney here, and the one and only Sean Claggett from Claggett Sykes out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Only a city this famous and full of energy could represent Sean and all of his passion for justice and his clients. Sean is a senior partner, founder, and trial lawyer who wears many hats, also wears them very successfully. He's an adjunct professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas Boyd School of Law, as well as a longtime entrepreneur and teacher, giving back a lot of his time to helping other trial lawyers hone their craft and become better through seminars. In 2023, just alone, he has achieved some record-breaking results, securing one of the largest personal injury verdicts in New Mexico history, $485 million for a minor who was abused in foster care, as well as obtaining over $48 million on behalf of a woman left in a locked-in state as a result of medical negligence. We're going to talk more about those cases today, as well as a very interesting slip and fall case that involves a plastic cone that resulted in a $16 million jury verdict. So welcome, Sean.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was a very flattering introduction.
It's, for someone like you, and I've just started to get to know you more, that's not even enough. But I want to start off, we're going to jump right in. We don't start with the easy question, Sean. And I know you can take this. So this is actually the same question that I asked Keith Mitnick and Nick Rowley, the first question I asked both of them. So I want to hear your answer, and it's, no one in your position and where you are right now has ever had an easy ride to success. But other than hard work, which is obviously a given, what do you think has been the recipe for you getting where you are today?
Being kind to people. I preach this to my kids. In life, if you work hard and you're kind to people, you'll be successful. That's not to be confused with being kind to your opponent in litigation. If you have to hold their feet to the fire and be aggressive, that's what you need to do. And oftentimes the defense lawyers don't like me and they call me a bully and they say things like that. But what I'm talking about is being kind to your people you work with, being kind to other plaintiff lawyers, giving back, those type of things. I don't monetize teaching. Never have. I don't believe in it. I think that we owe it to each other and to the next generation to give back our knowledge that we've gained. And hopefully the next up and coming lawyer will become better and take what we did and improve upon it and continue to help people. And so that's really, I think, at the core of what I've done my whole life is I've done my best to be kind and work hard. But I do stand up and I am very aggressive representing my clients when we deal with dishonest, corrupt defendants. They don't get away with that garbage and we'll hold them accountable. That's part of being kind to my client, right? If I care about my client and I'm going to do the best for them, then it requires me to hold those people accountable that did wrong. If they're going to hide evidence and try to not disclose witnesses, all the crud that we deal with every day, then that's part of what I think I'm talking about. And so I don't, there's the people that are like really nice to everybody and get pushed around and their clients get screwed in the end. That's not being kind to your client. And so, I think that as long as people understand what I'm talking about, then they'll understand. I have no problem with the defense bar feeling that I'm a bully and I'm really aggressive. Good. That's right. That's what I am because I'm being kind to my client, working my butt off for him.
Right. No, I love that. That is a great answer. I love starting with questions like that because it really gives everyone a great insight into who you are. But I want to go back in time a little bit. And you actually share a similar origin story to another trial lawyer we've had on this podcast, Jacob Norman. You both grew up in Idaho. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how you made your way from there to Vegas.
I tell this to people, people in Idaho it's a kind place. People are polite and nice. And I took my wife there for the first time. She's like, oh, my wife's Filipino. She goes, I don't want to be the only minority, it's going to be weird. I'm like, no, you don't understand. People are really nice there. She goes, are you sure? I don't know. And we go there and like we're driving and everybody's letting us in. Like, no, you go. And she's like, people are really nice here. I'm like, yes. When I moved from Idaho to Las Vegas, we never would lock our doors in Idaho or close our garage or nobody was going to steal from us. Well, we moved to Las Vegas in 1986 and we left our garage open, went to get lunch and came back and all of our toys were stolen. And it was like, oh, this place sucks. And I hated Las Vegas. I hated it. I'm the only one left out of my brothers. I love Las Vegas now. Moving from Idaho to Las Vegas was certainly a culture shock and required me to, you know, grow up in it was rough in Vegas, like no question about it. Right. I saw a lot of things at a very, very young age. You know, the first time I saw people shooting heroin, I was in ninth grade. I got in lots of fights. You learn to be tough. You learn to be street smart. You know, it required you to be. But if you can make it in Vegas and learn about moderation in life and everything that allows you to survive and be successful, what a great city. I mean, Las Vegas will let you be whatever you want to be. That's why I love the city so much.
That's actually a really good point because I think that if you can control yourself and become successful and not get caught up in the Vegas lifestyle, you really could do it anywhere because there's so many distractions around you there. So if you can focus, I think that you're on the right path. So I like that. But so you moved to Vegas, and then did you always think, I'm going to just attend the University of Nevada because it's there? Or did you want to attend the law school? Like, how did you pick what you wanted to study? Because I know it was like political science first, right?
Yeah, no, it was. So my journey started with, I was a very good baseball player in high school. I was all state. And I was positive in my own mind I was going to get drafted and play Major League Baseball all the way through high school. And then I didn't get drafted. And so I went to college, but I went to a junior college so I could. Baseball's a little bit weird. If you go to a 4-year institution, you're not eligible to be drafted for 3 years. So I went to a junior college and said, well, I want to go to junior college and show that I can succeed at a very high level. I did that and did not succeed at the next level very much, and did not get drafted. But I had signed with UC Davis for my senior year, and then when I did not get drafted my sophomore year, I didn't really see that. I didn't want to keep playing. I was pretty burnt out, and so I came home to Las Vegas where I had a girlfriend, and we had decided we would break up if I went to UC Davis, and then just some things happened that made it to where it didn't make a lot of sense for me to go. And it was the best thing in the world because my girlfriend is now my wife. And so I am very excited with that decision. It worked out very well for me. So yes, definitely don't regret that decision.
Did you always have a inkling that maybe you wanted to go to law school, maybe not even be a lawyer, but how did you go from your undergrad to law school?
So when I came back to Las Vegas for my junior year of college, I got a job at Wells Fargo, and I was in retail banking. And in retail banking, I was making like good money. I was making quarterly bonuses of about $15,000, $20,000 a quarter. And I was like, well, maybe this is what I want to do. This is more money than my parents have really ever made. And I'm a 20-year-old kid raking it. And it was great. And then corporate America said, wait a minute, you're making too much money. We're going to change the bonus structure. And so where I thought I had like a $25,000 bonus for the quarter coming, I got like $500.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what just happened? They're like, oh, we changed the compensation program. I'm like, when? They're like, now.
So obviously the bank changed your bonus structure and this did not work for you. So what was your plan after that? Did you think, I'm going to go to law school now because this sucks? How did this happen?
Yeah. So I knew at that point, like, yeah, I'm going to law school. Let's go do it. And my girlfriend, who's now my wife, we've been together since we were 16, by the way. We started dating in high school. And we still really like each other, and she's really cool. So bonus points to my wife for being awesome. So we said, okay, hey, let's go have a life experience and go to the East Coast for law school. It'll be fun. Neither one of us ever really lived out there, been out there. Let's go do it. So I applied to UConn, which was a really, no offense to UConn, but not the greatest law school. My statistics were such that I was it was my safety school. I was getting in. And then I also applied to UNLV because it was brand new. I applied to University of Arizona and University of Denver. Those were the 4 schools that I wanted to look at going. I applied to U of A because my older brother had just gotten his master's degree out there, and he and his wife lived out there, his girlfriend at the time. But so we do the applications, and I get into U of A. I get waitlisted at Denver. I get accepted at UNLV, and I get declined at the school with the worst statistics. UConn did not take me. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess we're not doing the West Coast or the East Coast. And my wife, was like, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And then UNLV, Frank Duran, who is the dean of admissions, did a really good job recruiting me, and still a good friend to this day. And he said, look, where do you want to practice law? I'm like, well, we're going to come back here. This is where our families are. He goes, well, you should go to school here. And then, he offered me a full ride, and the rest is history. And I love the law school. We're, to this day, I'm an adjunct professor. I've been on the alumni board, and we're huge donors to the law school. And we really, really appreciate the law school and everything it's done for the community.
Mm. And what is it like? Because I know, as I said to you offline, off record, I asked a few people a bit of information about you. A good journalist has to do their investigation. And one person said that teaching is such a large part of your personality and giving back. What is it like teaching these young law minds now that you've progressed on as a professor?
I love it. It is so much fun to go back to your alma mater, walk on that campus, and see. I look at the kids and I'm like, wow, the possibilities, the future is so bright. What could they do? What could they become? And then to motivate them and inspire them and go and teach and give back. It really is. Every time I get to teach at the university, is just so cool. And I'm actually meeting with the dean of the law school today, and we're working on a new course on jury selection that I'm really excited about to hopefully get that class taught at the law school. But it really is. It's one of those things. It's one of the greatest joys, and it's always at night because I have to work and I have trial, and so I have to make sure that I can make my classes. So I usually teach at like 7 p.m. to like 9. And so it's a late course, and I go and have dinner by the campus if I have time. It's great. I just love everything about it.
That's really fun. What do you see with your students? Do people usually have a path chosen before they go to law school? I want to do personal injury. I want to do defense, or they just go and then they figure it out?
They have no idea. They have absolutely no idea. I'm not saying all of them. Some of them may have a very good idea what they want to do. The vast majority of students don't have a clue. And what happens with this, my law practice management class that I teach there, really I try to educate my students about all the different paths that they can take and what that business model might look like for them. And so I have insurance defense attorneys come in and speak. I have DAs and public defenders, big law people, personal injury lawyers. I have them all come. I have all these guest speakers come in and teach the kids about what they do. And, it's really interesting because oftentimes you have these friends of mine that are very successful that start to self-reflect right in front of the class. They are very honest about what they like and what they don't like. And I've seen a couple times where some of my guests have made career changes after they've come and taught my class.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, one of my dear friends who was a regular at my class followed his desires not to keep doing defense work and is now a mediator. And I had lunch with him yesterday, and he's like so happy. You could just see the stress that was real and unhealthy that was bringing him down is gone. He just looks like just exponentially healthier, happier person.
And speaking of practice management, I kind of want to transition now into law, like running your own law firm, because you started out, from what I've read, as a solo with one client, and now you have two locations, both Las Vegas and Reno. You've got over 60 employees, you've got 20 attorneys. That's a lot for anyone to handle. But many people listening, they want to go out on their own and start their own firm, but they just don't know how to set it up, how much money to start with. Can you talk a little bit about your experience doing that?
Yeah, I was so I worked at a small guy. I was his first attorney. He was a criminal defense guy. He did some personal injury, but mostly criminal. And so he was really good about letting me bring in business. If people had money, I could bring them in. And so I took the bar in October. I passed the bar in October of 2003. I started my own firm in January of 2005. So we're talking 15 months that I worked as an attorney for somebody else before I started my firm. But what I did is, in the year before I left, I was like, okay, I'm getting paid $55,000 a year. I would like to make more than that as a lawyer, because I would like to drive a car that's not a Honda Accord. Nothing wrong with a Honda Accord. It's a very nice car. My wife's dad sold it to me. He sold Hondas, and very reliable. But I had this bigger idea of what I wanted financially for my goals. And I knew I couldn't do that working as an associate in a criminal defense firm, because he's got to live his lifestyle, and then there's no money for me. And I saw that pretty quickly. I had law clerked for him for over a year before that. So I was at his office 2.5, 3 years. But in the year that I was a lawyer, I was like, oh, I brought in $400,000 in fees, and I still made $55,000, and I got a $500 Christmas bonus. And I was like, I'm thinking this doesn't work for me. And so I made the decision to go start my own firm. And I just said, I'm going to do it. And I went and got space with a very successful husband and wife. The husband was criminal defense. The wife was personal injury. Very successful couple. And I figured, geez, they're going to have work that they don't want to do, and I'll do it. And that's exactly what happened. They fed me $10,000 to $20,000 a month in fees in work they just didn't want to do, because at the time I'm like, I can't believe they're just giving away this money. This is crazy. But as it turned out, we're now in that position where we feed young lawyers hundreds of thousands of dollars in business as well annually, because it's work that we just don't want to do. And it's so my advice to young lawyers, the worst thing that's going to happen if you go out on your own is you're going to be broke, right? Like, it doesn't work out. But before I would go out, I'd make sure that I could bring in business. The foolish person is the person who's never brought in business. Like, I'm going to go start my own firm, and they don't know how to bring in business. I would work on bringing in business regularly to the firm you're at, and then saying, okay, I calculated, if I have to have and that's what I did. It was just simple math. I said, well, I'm got to have a paralegal. I've got to have office. I got to pay my malpractice. I figured out what the cost was. I did a business plan. There's great software from Palo Alto Software called Business Plan Pro. Highly recommend anybody thinking about doing a law firm to use that software to make their business plan. It's very easy to keep yourself organized. And I also recommend successful law firms to make sure that they're redoing their business plans. My partners and I are having our meeting this year to get our business plan updated. But it's something you want to keep yourself accountable. And without a business plan, you're not accountable. There's no goals. You're not setting goals. And so a good business plan will set goals for the lawyers to make sure that they're meeting what we call milestones. You're hitting your milestones. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is that if you're going to go out on your own, you have to be able to bring in business. I see all these people, I'm a great lawyer. I'm like, yeah, but if you don't have work, nobody knows. The first step, and the number one thing you need to be going out on your own is a hustler. You got to be able to hustle business. You got to have a plan to do it. There's lots of different ways to do it. One of the things I preach to my attorneys, I'm like, you better give out, if you're starting your own firm, give out your business card to everybody you know every single day. You should give out 1,000 to 2,000 business cards a year. And out of those 2,000 business cards that you hand out, you will get business, I promise. Because a lot of those people don't know any other lawyers. And also market where you're at. If you go to a bar, everybody in that bar should know you're a lawyer, right? I mean, if you're a degenerate, maybe not, but if people, if you go to, if you play sports, everybody on your indoor soccer team or baseball team or softball team should know you're a lawyer. Those people, if something happens to anybody they know, the first person they should be thinking about is you. And so I tell that to people, market where you're at. Whatever you do for your free time, those people should know. If your kids are on little league teams or soccer or basketball, volleyball, whatever, this lacrosse, those parents should all know what you do. So God forbid something happens to somebody they know, they're picking up the phone saying, hey, can you help? And so that's when I use that term, market where you're at, that's the starting point. And then your local, at the grocery store. I mean, I've had clients from the grocery store where I go in there, I'm like, hey, if you ever need any, and I always offer to do their speeding tickets for free. That was kind of my giveaway. When you get a speeding ticket, call me, I'll take care of it. But anything you have, if you get in a car wreck, I can help you there. If anybody, gets in trouble with criminal stuff, I can help. Not now, but when I was a young lawyer, I did a lot of criminal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my advice to young lawyers. But before you go out on your own, make sure you can hustle the business.
I love that, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you next was, what is the big key to bringing in clients, which you've just explained that really well. So I hope everyone listening really rewinds that section and listens again, because it's the hustle mindset that will get you the clients. For yourself personally, maybe it's a little different now because you're well known, but what have you found other than these kind of like one-on-one ways of meeting people? What's a great return on investment way you found to get new clients?
Well, so when I was a young lawyer, I had a partner, really brilliant kid that went to law school. He was like Doogie Howser. He graduated law school when he was like 21, like super, like freaky smart kid. But he understood computers really well. And so he did my SEO. And before I had any clue so for your listeners, in 2005, online marketing was new and most personal injury lawyers were still heavy in the yellow pages. It's almost 20 years ago. But we were cutting edge, and I just crushed it on with my SEO. It's obviously way different now, very competitive. There's, as you know, there's entire industries that do this type of work, and they're all going to make you number one, and it's really expensive is what the point is. And so I don't know that that's the ROI that works anymore. I do believe that the best investment you're going to get is showing up and doing conferences and just get to know people. And especially like if you're in a place like California or Florida or Vegas, New York, places where people go for vacation. People get hurt from out of state all the time. You want to be the person they're thinking about when somebody gets hurt, like, oh, I know this guy in Vegas. And so even before I was well known, I was getting tons of business from out of state lawyers because I showed up to all these conferences and I was the guy from Vegas and I made sure that we had a good time. You got to be social. I think it's hard for even very, very good attorneys to get a lot of business if they're not social. I think that attorneys want to give business to people they like. It's a human response. And that's, remember, going back to my first thing I said, work hard and be kind. It's full circle here when we're talking about this, because when you're nice to people and you show up, if they ask you to do something, say yes. My son just got a nice award when he graduated high school. He was in the film academy at his high school, and they renamed the Outstanding Student in Film Award the Reed Claggett Student in Film Award, which was just phenomenal, right? But what he said in his acceptance speech was so true, and it's be the person that everybody needs, which means you're there, you show up, and you'll do the job. Doesn't mean you're going to get paid. There's a lot of giveaways. Matt Granda, my managing partner, equity shareholder in my firm, right? You know how he got into my firm? He worked at another law firm for free as a law clerk to get the experience. And that lawyer called me and says, I have a great law clerk for you. He's phenomenal. And I was like, well, I'm looking for a Spanish speaker. Does he speak Spanish? No, but you don't want it. This is one you don't want to miss on. And so the attorney was like, you got to hire this kid. Now, if Matt Granda doesn't work for free, again, be nice, work hard, things will work out. That's what he did. And he's now an equity partner in one of the we do have the largest personal injury firm in Nevada at this point. Very successful firm, and he makes a hell of a living. And what was the ROI on a summer of working for free? Pretty good. So too often people are worried about the immediate money. And I will say this, if you're chasing the money, you'll never make it. You will never make it in this industry because you'll never have enough. We've seen way too many colleagues chase the money and chase the image. Tom Girardi, he was chasing the money, chasing the image, but the whole time he was stealing money to do it. And he's setting up this, I think, unreasonable lifestyle that's not maintainable. And so, the other thing I tell my lawyers in my office and I tell my students, own your stuff. Don't leverage yourself. There's a lot of people out there that appear to be very wealthy, but they're highly leveraged individuals. They have a lot of debt.